Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English in Advance. I'm Jennifer, and today I want to talk about a feeling that I know so many of you have had, a quiet frustration that can truly stop us from fully using the English language. How can I really get better at listening to English and finally truly understand native speakers? Have you ever been in a conversation, maybe with someone speaking at their normal speed, and felt that confusing feeling where you only caught every third or fourth word while the rest just seemed to disappear into a jumble of sounds? Or perhaps you're settling in to watch a great movie or listen to an interesting podcast in English, and even with the subtitles on, the words just seem to fly by, blending into a blur, leaving you feeling really upset, maybe even a little down, like you're somehow missing the whole point. This happens to many English learners, and I want you to know for sure that it's okay to feel this way. But the good news is you don't have to stay there. Because today, right here, right now, we are going to find out the powerful, sometimes hidden, ways to truly make your listening better. We'll explore helpful, clear steps that will help you not just hear the sounds, but really get the main meaning, the small details, and that easy, beautiful flow of spoken English, especially when it comes directly from native speakers. So many of you have kindly shared your stories with me, telling me that while your reading skills might be getting much stronger, and even your speaking ability is improving steadily, listening stays that tricky, hard to catch part. You might be able to read difficult articles easily, or even have a good chat, but then, when native speakers just talk, when they settle into their normal everyday speed, it can feel as if they're suddenly speaking a completely different, much faster language, right? This happens because truly, understanding native speakers means so much more than just knowing single words by themselves. It's about knowing how words stick together, learning to hear different accents, figuring out the real meaning from how people say things and their voice patterns, and understanding all those slang words and common sayings that are just naturally part of everyday talk. These are the small, often unnoticed layers of language that often make listening so hard, but they also make it super rewarding when you finally start to peel them back, one by one, and truly get what's being said. By the end of our time together today, you will walk away with clear, easy ways that will make your English listening much, much better, no matter the speed or the accent. Imagine being able to easily follow a lively group chat, truly enjoy movies without always stopping, or understand your favorite podcasts easily. You will gain the important confidence to join in real English talks, really connect with people, and fully understand the things you listen to. So let's start this exciting journey together and make your listening skills amazing. All right, everyone, let's begin with the most basic question. And honestly, a main truth about language: why is listening so incredibly important? Why is it, simply put, your real English superpower, the very base that all your other skills beautifully build upon? When I first started learning English, the very first skill I actually chose to focus on most was listening. I totally agree that at some important times in your language learning journey, it's super important to focus on speaking and ideally to eventually balance all the connected parts of learning a language: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. But just stop for a moment and really think about how babies, how tiny human beings, learn their very first, most personal language. They don't start with grammar books or practice speaking, do they? They literally learn their first language by listening all the time, endlessly, to what their parents and caregivers say around them, from gentle songs to quick instructions around the house. That's exactly how they build their basic words, how they naturally learn the tricky, unspoken rules of sentences without any lessons, and how they learn the very sounds, the special music, and the natural rhythms of their first language. Listening is the basic, main input that naturally sets the stage for every other language skill. It's the constant flow of information, the living language that feeds your brain. Without steady, rich listening, you're simply not giving your brain that important, full experience it really wants to truly understand, to take in, and eventually to use the language naturally and with confidence. It's the very first, most powerful step in truly connecting with any new language. Listening not only carefully helps you build your vocabulary, adding new words to your mental list that are actually used in real situations, but it also gently helps you understand grammar and natural ways of speaking. It's through this deep listening that you naturally pick up on patterns, common word groups, and the natural music that makes native speech sound smooth and real. It's how your brain learns to guess what comes next, to fill in the gaps, and to speak with a native like rhythm even before you fully know all the rules. It literally changes how your brain works to think in English. Now, let's talk directly about why understanding native speakers can feel so incredibly hard, why it sometimes feels like trying to figure out a secret code spoken very fast. I've mentioned some of these very real points in another video I made about why you might still find yourself needing subtitles, but let's look even deeper into some of the key, sometimes hidden reasons here so you know you're not alone in this challenge. One big clear reason is just how fast and smooth, natural everyday talk is. Native speakers talk fast, but it's much more than just speed. They often speak quite softly. They tend to mumble their words, sometimes almost hiding them, and often, especially outside of quiet rooms, the sound quality isn't perfect, or there's other noise everywhere. Think about the loud chatter in a busy coffee shop, the rumbling of a crowded train, or the steady sound of cars on a windy street. Guys, please, please, please do not feel bad about this common, frustrating problem. I have personally many times asked some of my own native speaker friends to listen to songs with me, and I'd be like, hey, can you really tell me what they're saying in this part? What are those words? And often, even they couldn't clearly make it out. Sometimes it was even the other way around, where their first language was hard to understand when listening. I clearly remember watching a movie in Russian with my American friend who studies Russian, and she asked me about some specific words that the actors were mumbling. And after really trying my best to hear them, I was like, you know what? This is really hard. Let's just turn on the subtitles for this part. The main point here is that just because someone is a native speaker of a language, it absolutely does not mean they can understand everything perfectly, especially when facing fast songs or unclear movie talk. So, again, please be kind to yourself, give yourself a break, and do not feel bad at all about these very real common challenges. Another big reason for the difficulty, a reason that often surprises learners, is simply that you might not yet know the specific words, the special phrases, or the tricky grammar being used right then. It just doesn't work like magic where you just listen to something every single day and suddenly, poof, you magically understand everything perfectly. That's just not how real language learning truly works. You really need to actively study and get to know the material, especially those tricky, hard to find things like idioms and phrasal verbs, which, as we know, rarely mean exactly what their individual words suggest. The other day, for example, my American friend asked me if I knew some special slang words like dump truck or pop into the shop. If you know what these expressions mean, please share your ideas in the comments below. Let's take the phrase pop into the shop. If I were to use it in a sentence like, I'm going to pop into the shop real quick to grab some snacks, if you don't know that pop into means to make a quick, short visit, and shop means a store, then it really doesn't matter if I read it slowly with pauses like, I'm going to pop into the shop real quick to grab some snacks. Or quickly with natural flow, I'm just going to pop into the shop real quick to grab some snacks. The speed won't help you because you just don't know the words, you don't understand the saying itself. So, an important, helpful first step you really need to take is to actively learn these words and phrases, to truly study some common idioms and popular slang. It's not just about listening quietly and hoping for sudden understanding. It's really about actively learning the words, the specific phrases, and the sentence structures that help you make real, full sense of what you're hearing. This careful study builds the important bridge between just hearing sounds and truly understanding the meaning. Now, guys, let's switch our focus to the practical, strong ways you can really improve your listening and finally unlock that deeper understanding. These are the things I learned on my own journey. The first and most obvious yet often missed point is this: you really need to listen. You actually need to consciously start listening all the time. I remember a key moment when I realized there's a big difference between just listening without much thought and active listening. Of course, it's totally fine and good to sit in a quiet room with your headphones on and just listen to your favorite YouTubers. That's a good start, especially if you're new, as it gives you a comfortable way to hear the language. But if you truly want to make big, noticeable steps forward, you need to be okay with feeling a little uncomfortable. I learned to challenge myself. Try listening to something when you're on the bus with all its noise, when you're busy cooking dinner with all the sounds of the kitchen, while you're exercising at the gym, taking a walk in the busy park, or even when you're deep in your work. Basically, try listening in those active, often noisy, real-life places. This harder practice actively trains your brain to ignore other sounds and really focus on the spoken words, making your listening skills much stronger. Instead of just hearing noise, you'll find yourself tuning into the natural rhythm of the language. My second powerful discovery was to choose the right things to listen to, something that is truly fun and enjoyable for you. This might sound simple, but it's a huge change. If you truly enjoy what you're listening to, you'll naturally want to keep listening often. And remember, listening often is everything in learning a language. For example, I personally love listening to podcasts about how to be more productive, interesting talks with creative people, and anything about learning languages itself. So when I listen to that kind of stuff, it doesn't even feel like I'm learning at all. It's just me passing time doing something I really like, easily learning English as I go. This fun way of learning helps you stick with it, even on tough days. Now it's your turn. What are your hobbies, your passions? What do you really like? Take a moment right now and write down a few things you're truly interested in. Anything from cooking tasty food to playing games or fashion. Then go out there and actively find some engaging things to listen to that cover those exact topics in English, on YouTube, or any other place you like. Let what you love be your best guide and your lasting motivation. Okay, tip number 3 was realizing about picking content that is truly helpful and right for your life and work goals. This was when listening stopped being just a school thing and started becoming a way to reach my future. Let's say you have a clear, specific goal. Perhaps you need to pass an exam to study in another country. In that case, focus your listening practice on things related to that exam. Really dig into it. If you're learning English, especially for your job, maybe you work in finance, then dive deep into podcasts, special lessons, or smart interviews specifically about finance. This very focused way of learning uses what we call outside motivation. You're not just learning English for no reason. You're powerfully using it as a super important tool to really make your life better in a clear way or to reach a very specific big work goal. That's truly my favorite part because at that exact point, listening is no longer just a skill you're picking up. It really becomes your direct, easy path to the future you want for yourself, a tool to open new doors. When you have that deep desire to achieve something important, believe me, you will find the strong push to make listening a regular part of your daily life, making it feel very natural. Moving on to tip number 4. Always start simple and then build up slowly, like baking a yummy cake. This idea is super important. I clearly remember feeling upset at first. When I began learning English, I didn't just jump straight into watching hard, fast shows like The Office. Though, of course, The Office is truly great and super funny. I actually clearly remember being completely hooked on The Vampire Diaries and Supernatural, full of excitement. But I was so upset when I realized I couldn't even understand half of what the characters were saying. The words just flew by too fast. So I wisely decided to take a step back. Instead, I carefully began with slower, more educational videos, often from YouTubers who explain things very clearly, usually with subtitles. That patient, careful way of learning really helped me build my basic listening, layer by delicious layer. Guys, here's a good exercise for you, a way to start your own cake. Go on YouTube and search specifically for English for Beginners, or Intermediate English, or even Slow English podcast. Watch just 3 minutes a day, but here's the most important thing. Listen actively. Do not just play it in the background like noise. Starting slowly and step by step is super important. Just like you wouldn't start baking a cake by putting the cherry on top before anything else. You have to build the main parts first. Okay, tip number 5 was a big surprise about training your ear to catch whole phrases, not just separate single words. This is a common mistake many learners make without realizing it, trying to figure out every single word they hear, which can be tiring and not helpful. But native speakers don't talk like neat textbooks where every word is said alone. They often shorten sounds and connect words together smoothly, almost like they're one word. For example, did it usually just sounds like did it, blended into one quick sound. I don't know almost always becomes I don't know. Or do you want to go? Often shortens to a quick you want to go. It's like breaking a secret code once you understand these combined sounds. I actually have a separate video all about these common phrases and sound changes, so make sure to check it out if you want to understand native speakers even better. The main point here is to actively start training your ears to hear these natural groups of words, these smooth sets of words that mean one thing, not just separate, unconnected words. And believe me, with steady practice, your ear will slowly get used to it. It's really like working out a muscle. It takes regular, dedicated practice, so please don't worry if you don't get everything right away. Your brain will start to recognize these common patterns. Tip number 6 was about finding out the amazing power of stopping and making flashcards for the new phrases you hear. This simple action was a game changer for me. If I didn't know a certain word or a saying, I would immediately stop the video or audio and carefully add it to my flashcards. And here's the key idea: I didn't just add single words, I added whole useful phrases, the complete chunk of language. For example, if I heard, I'm a bit, I'd ask myself, what exactly does that mean here? I learned it's an informal way to say, I'm really tired. It's a bit like saying, I'm exhausted or I'm worn out. And when I say worn out, remember, I'm talking about being physically tired, not your favorite old shirt being worn out. So I would then look at an example like, I worked a 10-hour shift today. I'm a bit. Then I made flashcards with the full phrase, its clear meaning, and a short, practical example sentence to show how it's used. Okay, here's another common one for you all. That movie was a blast. What does that mean here? It means that movie was super fun, really enjoyable. Now try using a blast in your own sentence, thinking about a fun time you had. Share it in the comments below. This active making and reviewing of flashcards really helps you learn, making those new phrases stick in your mind. Tip number 7 was a very important realization about progress, not pressure. This way of thinking is super important for learning steadily and not getting too tired. Do not expect to understand everything perfectly on day 1. That's too much to ask of yourself. Instead, learn to set small, achievable mini goals for yourself, celebrating every tiny win. For example, you could decide, this week, I'll watch one episode of Friends with English subtitles, focusing just on understanding the main story. Then maybe next month, after that steady practice, you'll bravely try watching without them. I clearly remember that after carefully watching educational videos for about a year, building my base, I finally felt ready to switch to watching full TV series. And that made a huge, noticeable difference in how much I understood. My steady, patient practice had truly trained my brain to be ready for that next step. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself understanding. Celebrate your small wins as you go, and always focus on the steady, clear journey of getting better, not the idea of being perfect right away. Okay, moving on to another very important tip. Tip number 8. And honestly, this is my absolute favorite one. Listen to songs. If you were to ask me what single practice personally made my listening skills the best, what really opened my ear to the small details of English, I would tell you 100% it was always listening to songs. It might seem like a more advanced exercise at first, but trust me, it will really boost your vocabulary, make you understand natural phrases better, and truly improve your feeling for rhythm and how voices go up and down. I started with slower songs that had very clear, easy to understand words like Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. If you listen closely to that song, you'll hear give up and let down, already two common phrasal verbs smoothly placed into a catchy tune. Songs are incredibly strong learning tools because they repeat things. They create a deep emotional connection, and they naturally put new words and phrases into a memorable, often very clear story. Then, as I felt more sure and my ear got more used to it, I slowly moved on to faster pop or rock songs, making my range wider. Tip number 9 was a super smart idea I found. Watch content you already know in your own language. This is a really clever way to make learning easier and get the most out of it. When I started learning Spanish, I specifically watched again beloved shows and movies like Harry Potter, SpongeBob, and Coco in Spanish. And for Chinese, I picked animated cartoons like Kung Fu Panda or Mulan. I just really love cartoons set in China, and they often have clear, easy to understand talking. This helped me a lot because I already knew the whole story, the plot, and the characters very well. So it was much, much easier to follow the new language and focus all my attention on understanding the new words and sounds without getting lost in what was happening. The stress of following the plot was gone. So if you want to really improve your listening, actively watch your favorite shows again, those comforting, familiar stories, but this time, bravely choose the English version. It won't feel nearly as stressful or too much as trying to follow something completely new and unknown while also trying to understand a new language. And finally, tip number 10, listen to many different accents. This is super important for real English communication. Real English, as it's spoken by millions around the globe, comes in so many different forms. It comes in all sorts of different accents, each with its own special charm and way of speaking. So please don't just stick to American or British accents alone. Actively try listening to Australian, Irish, or South African accents too. You need to really understand that even within different parts of the USA, people speak quite differently. For example, people from New York and California have clear differences in how they speak, their rhythms, and even some local words. And that's not even talking about the many, many interesting differences within the UK alone. Here, a wide range of podcasts, interviews, and documentaries from different places are incredibly helpful tools. Guys, here's a quick challenge for you. Try watching one video from BBC Learning English and then one from an American YouTuber. Compare closely how they pronounce certain common words. For instance, how do they say can't? Do they say can't with a longer A sound, like in father, or can't with a shorter A sound, like in cat? Actively training your ear to know and understand these different accents will make a huge, clear difference in how well you understand listening and how confident you feel in talking with people from different places. It builds really helpful flexibility and gets you ready for the true global world of English. And here's a powerful bonus tip for you, a way to really take on the challenge and make your progress much faster. Practice with fast speech, guys. Now it's truly time to make your listening even better, to push yourself beyond what feels easy. Once you feel more comfortable with middle level content, bravely start watching really fast content with no subtitles at all. At first, I won't lie, you'll probably feel totally lost, like you've been dropped into the deep end of a pool, and I want you to know that this is completely 100% normal. Don't panic, just breathe and keep going. Believe me, over time, your amazing brain will start to get used to it, adapt, and even guess the speed. Try scenes from fast talking TV shows or real interviews where the conversation flows naturally and quickly. Or even better, smartly watch something you've already seen and understood, but this time, bravely challenge yourself to watch it without any subtitles. You already know the story, so your brain can focus just on the sounds. Remember, you won't necessarily be perfectly fluent in 6 months, or maybe you will be. And that's totally okay and truly amazing if you are. Even now, as someone who speaks English well, I still have times when I'm like, wait, what did they just say? And I need to ask again. But I don't stop. I keep listening and I keep going. So keep listening, keep pushing yourself, and celebrate every single step forward because each moment of not understanding is just a stepping stone to clear understanding. All right, guys, this has been our journey together through the art of listening. Which of these helpful tips are you going to try first, perhaps starting today, right after this video? Or do you already have a favorite, tried and true way to improve your listening that you'd like to share with our wonderfully supportive community? Let me know in the comments below. Also, what specific tools or channels have you found super helpful for other learners on your own path? Tell me your favorite podcasts, YouTubers, or series in English that have truly helped your listening skills get better. Thank you so much for watching, for putting effort into yourself, and for joining me here on English in Advance. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to unlock the power of English together.